Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Should You Play, where I show you some spoiler-free gameplay and give you my thoughts after playing new games for a few hours, while also highlighting and checking out at least one of the PlayStation Plus games for each month. In this video I'm playing Hollow Knight Silksong, the long-awaited sequel to Hollow Knight that was originally announced as a standalone title back in 2019. Full disclosure, I'm not the best Metroidvania gamer out there, and because of that, I never quite fell in love with Hollow Knight the same way that others did, despite my finishing the main story and it clearly being a high-quality game. That being said, I'm really enjoying what Silksong has to offer so far, my skill level aside, so let's just talk about it. In Hollow Knight Silksong, you play as Hornet, who is a recurring boss and character from the first game. The game kicks off with Hornet being captured by a group of veiled soldiers, but she quickly breaks free and begins her journey from there. Your goal after that is to ascend the Kingdom of Farloom and reach the Citadel at its peak, meeting a cast of other warriors and pilgrims along the way. The game works as a standalone sequel, so you don't need to have played through Hollow Knight to follow along, though returning players will probably get more out of the callbacks and familiar faces. Like the first game though, most of the story is delivered in an abstract way. You'll watch a few cutscenes, read lore, and meet NPCs who give quests and bits of dialogue, but a lot of the narrative is implied or hidden in the environment, and it'll be up to you to piece it together. One major difference here is that Farloom feels far more inhabited than Hollow Nest did. It's not bustling with life, but you'll meet more characters, and Hornet herself has a lot more personality than the Silent Knight from the original game. If you've ever played a Metroidvania-style game before, you'll know the basics here. It's a 2D platformer where exploration, combat, platforming, and upgrades drive the experience. You'll jump, attack, collect items, and gradually unlock new skills and abilities that'll let you reach previously inaccessible areas as you progress through the world. Hornet feels noticeably different from the Knight in the sense that she's more agile, and traversal has a snappier, more acrobatic feel because of it. Even with just the basic moves at the start, her speed and mobility make exploring fun, and as you progress, you'll unlock tools and abilities that add layers to both combat and navigation. Things like map aids, new skills, or tools that boost exploration rewards. The main quest is straightforward, climb through Farloom and reach the Citadel, but it's the secondary objectives that add a bit more substance to the journey. You'll run into characters who will ask you to collect items such as mossberries or spines, and you can trade rosaries and shards to upgrade your gear with other characters, but it's important to note that some of these aren't actually optional, so you should try to take care of each one as you come across them. Early on, the in-game economy feels a bit grindy, but it balances out much more once you get deeper into the journey. Much like the first game, exploration is also heavily incentivized. Sometimes the path ahead is the right one, but other times you'll stumble across treasures or hidden passages that require backtracking once you unlock a new ability. That said, navigation isn't always intuitive. Even with a map, I found myself lost more than once, not knowing if I was headed in the right direction or if I was making a futile journey. Trial and error plays a big role, and while it can be frustrating when you find yourself lost, buying map markers and other aids can make it more manageable. Hornet's silk-based combat is one of the biggest changes going into Silksong, using her signature needle for standard attacks, and using silk for both healing and other combat abilities. Silk builds up as you deal damage to enemies, and you can spend it to heal yourself by binding wounds, or use it to unleash attacks like the Silk Spear. Combat is tight and precise, and like in the original game, it rewards patience, meaning if you get reckless, you'll die quickly. Most enemies have patterns to learn, and once you figure them out, it becomes about timing and execution. Bosses so far have been tough but fair, and as of recording, I've fought 6 main ones. The first couple went down in 1 or 2 tries, and the others took me a couple more tries, but I never felt the need to abandon the challenge and come back after getting stronger. Most importantly here, the bosses all feel distinct, each with their own unique movesets that keep each fight feeling fresh. The difficulty also feels just a touch easier than the original game, maybe by about 5% if I had to put a number to it. Checkpoints are forgiving as well. Benches aren't always right next to boss arenas, but they're close enough that you won't feel punished by long runs back. In addition, when you die, you'll drop all of your rosaries, but you can recover them by returning to the spot where you fell, which means that you won't have to grind for currency every time you die if you happen to lose them. Visually, Silksong is gorgeous. The art style carries over from the first game, but the environments feel both brighter and more varied. Since you're climbing upward instead of descending this time, the lighting is more dynamic as well, and the use of color makes Farloom stand out from the hollowness. Additionally, the foregrounds and backgrounds add depth to the 2D environments, making the world feel more three-dimensional as you make your way through each room. The audio design is excellent too. The soundtrack is sparse, usually kicking in during boss fights or major encounters, but the ambient sound does the heavy lifting. Depending on where in the world you are, you'll hear rustling grass, crumbling earth, or bubbling lava, all of which make the world sound more alive. Character designs remain fantastic as well, all of them being insectoid in nature, but unique enough that you'll remember their faces when they pop up again, and this extends to the regular enemies and bosses as well. Playing on PS5, the haptic feedback is worth a shout out to. You'll feel it when you land hits or take damage, but I do wish that there were a bit more subtle detail, like rumbles that accompany the shifting earth sounds or your footsteps on the terrain. It's not a huge loss, just a missed opportunity for some extra immersion. Silksong is absolutely filled with bugs, but fortunately they're all characters and not in-game problems. Performance-wise, the game actually runs great, and I had no technical issues during my time with it. Area transitions were smooth, frame rates were stable, and the load times were short. The only issue I encountered was actually outside of the game, when so many players were trying to buy the game at launch that some storefronts like the PlayStation Store and Steam temporarily broke. Personally, I couldn't even purchase the game until around 4 hours after release, but once I got in, it was polished and stable with no glitches of note, so the only bugs you'll be fighting are the ones that are supposed to be in the game. Overall, I'm really impressed with Silksong so far, and I'm enjoying it far more than I did the first Hollow Knight game because it's a stronger title in nearly every way. It's a familiar experience, but it's slightly more accessible without sacrificing the difficulty that made the original so beloved, and there's just enough polish to everything else to make it shine as a standalone experience. The art direction is brighter and more fleshed out, the world feels more alive, and most importantly, the challenge is still ever present thanks to the hundreds of new enemies within Farloom. If you enjoyed the first game, you're bound to enjoy Silksong as well, and even if you're new to the franchise, this is a great entry point into one of the most refined Metroidvania series out there. Plus, with the game launching at just $20, it's hard to argue against the value, especially when so many other games are raising prices while offering less and less. As always though, this is just my opinion. Whether you still can't believe that the game is finally out, or you're already exploring the heights of the Citadel, let me know in the comments what you think of Hollow Knight Silksong. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.